Cozy mysteries are one of my very favourite genres, and I sometimes feel like because they're so easy to pick up, because they are so easily consumable, I forget to get to them as I'm going through the year. I get caught up in bigger projects. And since I really also adore a bingo board, I love a challenge where I can tick things off as I go through the year, I thought that a cozy mystery bingo board would be a really good way to keep me remembering to go back to cozies, reminding me to every month think, would it make me happy to pick up some cozy mysteries this month, as well as some of those bigger fantasies, those darker horrors. My inspiration for this board was very much the Our Fantasy Bingo board. Fantasy is probably the one genre that I read more than I read cozy, and I do think that fantasy is really well served in terms of these kind of online bingo boards where cozies maybe don't get as much attention. If I've missed something and there is another cozy mystery bingo of this type, then please let me know in the comments, because I would love to take part in that this year too. There have of course been other bingo boards for other genres set up in the past couple of years that also follow that Our Fantasy template. You can look at Covers with Cassidy's Romantasy Bingo board or Wicked Reading's Horror Bingo board, and again I'm going to link both of those in the description. I've had this bingo board sitting in my drafts since January when I got the idea for it, but I really like that Our Fantasy runs out of sync with the rest of the year. It means that you don't have that mad rush in December to finish it while you're also trying to finish the, if you're me, 10,000 other challenges you signed up for along the course of the year. The fact it comes out a little bit later gives you something to refresh your reading when you're starting to just come off that super hyped January excitement and into that springtime slump. The March Mystery Madness readathon runs obviously in March, and it has run for I think the past 10 years. I've taken part in at least the past 5 or 6 years, some of them online, some of them just in my own reading. It always really sparks that joy of getting back into mysteries as I'm coming through that darker January and February phase. Starting the board with March Mystery Madness I think is a great way that I'll be able to hit some of those prompts really early on in the year, and it'll give me that boost so that even if I lose steam a little as the year goes on, hopefully by the time we get back around to the challenge ending at the end of February, I'll be starting to get stoked about reading mysteries again, and it'll really help with that final push to completing the board. If you want to join me and take part, you can go for a line, vertically, horizontally, diagonally, or you can go for the full blackout board. Like Our Fantasy, there's also going to be 2 different modes for you to try and hit depending on how ambitious you're feeling. I've made a version of each board and I'm going to link to them again down below. You can either use the easy board or the hard board, or you can pick and choose different ones for different prompts. Obviously, I haven't got a board that combines the two, but feel free to edit either one as you see fit. There are no other rules that I can think of, but if I've missed something, then please do let me know down in the comments and I will do my best to answer any questions that you have. If you do decide to join me, I'm really excited to see what you might come up with. So again, please leave me links to any blog posts, any Instagram posts, any TBR videos, any progress vlogs, or any wrap-ups as we get to the end of the year. If you don't put content out online but you want to take part, then I would still love to hear from you and let me know your TBR or how you're getting on in the comments. I'd love to see more suggestions for these prompts to see what people pick. There are definitely some prompts here where I want to get more books in that realm, so I will absolutely be looking for more suggestions to add to my own TBR as the year goes on. I'm going to put the easy board up at the side and we're going to go through the prompts. While it's the easy board that you'll see, I will talk about what the hard option is for each of them as we go along. The very first prompt on the first line is for someone else to choose a book for you. This can be a friend, it can be a librarian, it can be someone online that you want to ask, whether that's via a Discord poll or messaging someone specifically and asking for their opinion. They should be telling you about a book that either they have really enjoyed, they think is really good, or something that they specifically think you are going to enjoy. For the hard mode for this one, we are going a little bit more random. This could be putting 4 or 5 different options into, again, a Discord poll, or it could be using a spinner wheel or rolling a dice to choose between books on your TBR shelf. The second prompt is a book with a beautiful cover. I think we are so lucky in the cozy genre that we get these beautiful, intricate, illustrative covers almost as standard. And we generally do get a lot of really pretty looking designs. For easy, that's all you need to do. Pick a book that you think has a beautiful cover. For hard mode, we're just gonna tweak it slightly, and the cover is all you know about it. Pick a beautiful cover without reading the back copy, without checking what the actual plot is about, and just go purely based on that imagery. The third prompt is a food theme. Again, this is something that tends to pop up a lot in cozies, whether it is a chef, whether it's a baker, a food blogger, whether it's a cozy that is set in a restaurant or where some kind of food element plays an important part. That covers you for easy mode. For hard mode, it's just a little bit more specific, and it has to specifically be a baker or a bakery. Doesn't need to be the character's main occupation, but baking or baked goods or bakeries should in some way play an important part in the story. Prompt 4 is a punny title. I personally am such a sucker for all those really gag-driven, joke-filled titles that we get in cozies. I know they pop up in other genres too, but I don't think any other genre uses them to the extent that we do, and I really love that tongue-in-cheek humour. It's a real good way of immediately knowing the type of mystery you're going into. This could be something like Last Will and Testament or Death Becomes Her. For the hard mode, we're doing something a little bit different. The title doesn't have to have a pun in it, but you will have to find specific letters on the cover. You can use the author's name, the title, and any little blurbs or snippets that are written on the front cover itself, but you have to be able to spell the word sleuth from those letters. So you need to find all 6 letters in any order somewhere on that cover. The last prompt on this first row is new series. I hope that this is a really easy one to fill. I know that there are always so many new cozy series coming out that I personally can't keep on top of them. I'm always really excited to try something new, to see a new protagonist, a new world, a new theme. So this prompt is just to embrace that and start something that is completely new to you. The hard mode is to continue a series. I just said it's really easy to start loads and loads of series. It can sometimes be a little bit harder to go back to a series, to remember to follow up with sequels, and that's the point of this hard mode prompt. On the second line, the first prompt is alliteration. So for this one, we're going back to titles, and you're going to pick a book that has a title with 2 or more words starting with the same letter. Think broomsticks and board games. For the hard mode, it's just that little bit trickier, and instead of 2 or more titles with the same letter, you'll have to find 3. From my TBR, this might be The Rocky Road to Ruin. For the second prompt on this row, the easy mode is to pick a book where the sleuth has an unusual job or a hobby. We see lots of bakers, lots of bookshop owners, lots of librarians in our cozy mysteries. It depends on what you tend to read and what you have read in the past, so this will be a judgment call. But the point is to pick something that you don't see that often. So this could be a jam maker or a beekeeper or a bookbinder. It can be either their hobby or their occupation. For the hard mode, we're talking about jobs much more specifically, and the prompt is to pick a book where the sleuth leaves their job. This tends to happen in the first installment. We see the sleuth for some reason forced to leave their big city job to go to some kind of small town to either reconnect with family or to reinvent themselves. But sometimes it might happen later in the series too. That's the prompt, to find a book where the sleuth has at some point left their job. For the third easy prompt on that second row, we're picking a book that works with some other goal you have in mind. This could be a structured challenge, so maybe there's a prompt in March Mystery Madness you want to double up on. It could be one of the year-long reading challenges that are hosted. Books and Lala's Buzzwordathon could be used here. Or it could just be a personal challenge you're working on yourself. Maybe you're trying to read down your physical TBR shelf, or maybe you're trying to use your library more. Anything like that would count for this easy square. For the hard mode, you also have to pick a book that is a 2026 release. The fourth prompt here is to read a TBR vet. For this easy mode, if you consider a book from last year a TBR vet, then great. If you consider a book that's 5 years old a TBR vet, that's fine too. Whatever suits you. It just has to be something that has been on your TBR for what you consider to be a substantial amount of time. For hard mode, I'm going to give you a specific date, and it is that TBR vet has to be more than 10 years old. It doesn't have to have been on your TBR for 10 years. Again, just whatever you consider substantial, but the publication date should be at least 10 years ago. And then the final prompt on this second row is book lover. That could be a writer, a librarian, a journalist, a bookshop owner. It could also just be a cozy that themes around a specific author. I know that I've read books where there's a vague Sherlock Holmes theming, or it could be something like By Book or By Crook, where a Jane Austen novel is really central to the storyline. Hard mode gets just that little bit more specific, and it has to be about a bookshop. This could mean that our protagonist runs a bookshop, or that they spend a lot of time in a bookshop in the story. Maybe the murder happens in a bookshop. As long as the bookshop forms a substantial part of the plot. Moving on to row 3, the first prompt is diversity. And this is the same for both easy mode and hard mode. For this square, you're going to pick a book that has a protagonist who is either a person of colour, part of the LGBTQIA community, has a disability, or is neurodiverse in some way. The second easy prompt is to read a 5-star prediction. This is any book that you are convinced you are going to love. This can be for any reason. It could be because you've read the author in the past, because you love the sound of the blurb, the cover just grabbed you. Just pick a book that you think you're going to end up rating 5 stars. The hard mode prompt is that this book also has to be from someone you consider an auto-buy author. I know not everyone does the whole auto-buying books thing, and that's fine, but it should be an author that you've read from in the past and you generally assume you're going to enjoy any book they put out. The third prompt in this row, and bang center of the grid, is to finish a series. As we said, there are dozens of cozy series out there and some of them can get really, really long. It's very easy to let things fall by the wayside, to forget to go back and pick up installment number 16 or 24. You don't have to have started the series this year, and it doesn't matter how long the series is, but you have to either get to the end and read the last installment, or you have to at least catch up with reading the last published book. For hard mode, this just again gets a little bit more specific, and the book that you see and the series that you finish has to be at least 4 books long. Again, you can have started the series previously, but this final installment has to be book 4 or above. Our fourth easy prompt on this line is pseudonym. So you're going to read a book from an author who also writes under a different name. Lots of cozy authors write different cozy series under different names. Some even write in completely different genres. It doesn't matter which the author's real name is, it just matters that they write under a pseudonym at some point, and then you can pick any of their books. The more specific hard mode prompt for this is new name, old author. You're going to pick an author you have specifically read in the past that has a pseudonym, and you're going to read from their other pen name. The fifth prompt on row 3 is to read a book with a hot weather setting. It could be a book that takes place in summertime, it could be one that follows our sleuth on some kind of vacation getaway, or it could be a book that takes place somewhere that you generally just think of as a hot location, for instance that takes place in Australia. The hard mode is to read a book with a beach setting. So this doesn't necessarily need to be a hot weather setting, I suppose, but a substantial element of the book should involve the beach, whether that's a murder taking place there, a lifeguard, detective, or maybe our protagonist loves to collect seashells. The first prompt for row 4 is to pick a book with food on the cover. For hard mode, while finding something on the cover, you should also be picking a book that has some kind of food theme in its title. This could be Mango, Mambo and Murder, or it could be Edam and Weep. Our second prompt on this row is crafting, either as the protagonist's occupation or as something they're really passionate about in terms of hobbies. For the easy mode prompt, any type of craft will do. It could be knitting, crochet, it could be jewellery making, candle making, it could be paper craft or quilling. Whatever you think of as a creative craft has to be a substantial part of the book. For hard mode, I'm taking away some of your options, and it has to be a non-yarn based craft, so you can't have any knitters or any crocheters involved. The third prompt is cold weather, opposite of that previous hot weather prompt. It could be set in the dead of winter, or it could be a book set somewhere you think of as a cold location. Maybe you can find a mystery set in the North Pole. For hard mode, the book should feature a seasonal holiday. If you want to keep with that cold weather setting, then you might be looking for books based around Christmas or Hanukkah, Halloween or Thanksgiving. Or you could ditch the cold weather element and just stick with that seasonal prompt, and you could add in things like Easter or the 4th of July. If you're in the southern hemisphere, then it's entirely up to you whether you want to go with what you consider to be summer and winter, or whether you want to go with what the protagonist of the book thinks is summer and winter. I think the fourth prompt on this row is my favourite prompt on the board. For easy mode, read a book where the love interest is not a cop. So often in cozies, the love interest is either the local detective, the sheriff, or someone else directly involved in law enforcement. Obviously, this usually gives our sleuth a bit of extra insight, some extra hints as they work to solve the case. And in these first installments, it always adds a bit of tension as they are continually warned away from the investigation, and we know they're not going to listen. But it does come up a lot. So for this one, you want a love interest with some other kind of job. Hard mode, again, just makes things a little bit more tricky. They can't have any sleuthing connections, any behind the scenes information, any connection to law enforcement at all. Easy mode, you could have journalists, you could have lawyers. In hard mode, you can't. I want you to pick occupations that don't have anything to do with crime or crime solving. The ones I'm thinking of off the top of my head might be the Blue Ridge Library series, where we have a love interest who is a ballet dancer, or the Grilled Cheese Mystery series, where we have a love interest who is an electrician. If you have any recommendations for this prompt, I would absolutely love to hear those in the comments, because that's something I really enjoy finding in my cozies. The last prompt on this row is out of your comfort zone. There are so many kind of themes to cozies, so many categories that our mysteries fall into. It's easy to have favourites and ones we tend to lean towards. I personally love a craft-based cozy. I'm not as big a fan of historical cozy mysteries, even though I will occasionally read a standard historical novel. Something about historical cozies just doesn't scratch that itch for me. So for me, that would fit this square. This is one that's obviously up to you and your own reading preferences. For hard mode, you're going to go even further away from the cozy mystery genre, and you're going to pick something that's not so cozy. You could stay fairly close to home. You could pick a golden age whodunit, or you could really push the boat out and go with a courtroom drama or a police procedural, or maybe a domestic thriller verging on horror. For the fifth and final row, the first prompt is to read a book with something metallic on the cover. This could be a car, it could be a knife, it could be a spade, it could be a railing. Anything metallic will do. For the hard mode, that item has to specifically be a whip. For the hard mode, we are looking specifically for weapons on the cover. There's going to be some overlap there. It could be that knife again, it could be a gun, or it could be a rope or a poison bottle. Second prompt is a new to you author. This is just picking up something by an author you've never read from before. For hard mode, that author also has to be a debut. It has to be their first published book. Now, if you're reading something from your backlist, it might not be the only book the author currently has out, but it should be the first book that they did publish. The third prompt is to read a book with a building on the cover. This could be a house, a shop, a hospital, a church. Any type of building works. The hard mode is to read a book with a name in the title. So this could be the name of that shop, the name of the town, the name of the hospital, or it could be a character's name. Any sort of proper noun works here. The fourth square is all about those cozy animal companions. I love when our sleuth has a dog or a cat or a parrot or a reptile, an animal friend that plays an important part in the story. For this easy mode prompt, that's all they have to do. The animal doesn't need to be helping solve the crime, although I know that there are cozies out there that do that, but they do need to spend a significant amount of time on the page. For the hard mode, you also have to find a book with an animal on the cover. This could be a book that also happens to have a cover covered in parrots while the protagonist has a dog, but there have to be some kind of animal on the cover as well. And then the final prompt is bringing us back around to the beginning a little bit, and this one is to read a recommendation. Now again, you could go to someone directly for a recommendation as you did in the first square, or you could pick from someone's top 10 cozy mystery video, or you could pick from a top cozies of the year vlog post. You could go along to your local bookshop and see if they have those little cards on the shelves and find one that recommends specifically a cozy. For the hard mode, you are heading off on your own. You are not listening to anyone. There is no recommendations involved. You are finding a book that has lower than a 3.5 star rating. You can get the rating from wherever you usually rate books. It can be Goodreads or Storygraph, that is entirely up to you. But it should be a book that so far in general has been fairly lowly rated. Low rating on one of these sites doesn't always mean it's a bad book. It just means that the book hasn't quite found its audience yet, and maybe you're going to be the first person to love this book and rate it 5 stars. So there you have it. Those are all of the prompts for my Cozy Mystery Bingo board. As I said, it is running from the 1st of March through to the very end of February. I would love if you want to take part along with me, and if you do, I would also love to hear your TBRs and your reading plans. I'm going to link to everything I mentioned, those other bingo challenges, the bingo board graphics, in the description, and if you have any questions then just let me know. I really hope that I'm going to be able to check in on this challenge at various points along the year, so if you'd like to stick around for those videos, I'd really appreciate it. I hope that I'll see you in future videos. Goodbye.